Hello everyone, today I'm speaking about SEAL Team 6. SEAL Team 6 has plotted deadly missions from secret bases in the badlands of Somalia. In Afghanistan, they engaged in combat so intimate that they've emerged soaked in blood that was not their own. On clandestine raids in the dead of the night, their weapons of choice have ranged from customized carbines to primeval tomahawks. Around the world, they've run spying stations disguised as commercial boats, posed as civilian employees of front companies, and operated undercover at embassies as male and female pairs, tracking those the United States wants to kill or capture. Those operations are just part of the hidden history of the Navy SEALs Team 6, one of the nation's most mythologized, most secretive, and least scrutinized military organizations. Once a small group reserved for specialized but rare missions, the unit best known for killing Osama bin Laden has been transformed by more than a decade of combat into a global manhunting machine. That role reflects America's new way of war, in which conflict is distinguished not by battlefield wins and losses, but by the relentless killing of suspected militants. Almost everything about SEAL Team 6, a classified special operations unit, is shrouded in secrecy. The Pentagon does not even publicly acknowledge the name, though some of its exploits have emerged in largely admiring accounts in recent years. However, an examination of SEAL Team 6's evolution, drawn from dozens of interviews with current and former team members, other military officials, and reviews of government documents, reveals a far more complex, provocative tale. While fighting grinding wars of attrition in Afghanistan and Iraq, Team 6 performed missions elsewhere that blurred the traditional lines between soldier and spy. The team's sniper unit was remade to carry out clandestine intelligence operations, and the SEALs joined Central Intelligence Agency operatives in an initiative called the Omega Program, which offered greater latitude in hunting adversaries. Team 6 has successfully carried out thousands of dangerous raids that military leaders credit with weakening militant networks, but its activities have also spurred recurring concerns about excessive killing and civilian death. Afghan villagers and a British commander accused the SEALs of indiscriminately killing men in one hamlet. In 2009, team members joined CIA and Afghan paramilitary forces in a raid that left a group of youths dead and inflamed tensions between Afghan and NATO officials. Even an American hostage freed in a dramatic rescue has questioned why the SEALs killed all of his captors. When suspicions have been raised about misconduct, outside oversight has been limited. Joint Special Operations Command, which oversees SEAL Team 6 missions, conducted its own inquiries into more than half a dozen episodes, but seldom referred them to Navy investigators. Even the military's civilian overseers do not regularly examine the unit's operations. Quote, "This is an area where Congress notoriously does not want to know too much," said the State Department's former top legal advisor, Harold Koh, who provided guidance to the Obama administration on clandestine war. Waves of money have sluiced through SEAL Team 6 since 2001, which allows it to significantly expand its ranks, reaching roughly 300 assault troops called operators and 1,500 support personnel to meet new demands. However, some team members question whether the relentless pace of operations has eroded the unit's elite culture and worn down Team 6 on combat missions of little importance. The group was sent to Afghanistan to hunt al-Qaeda leaders, but instead would spend years conducting close-in battle against mid- to low-level Taliban and other enemy fighters. One former operator of Team 6 would go on to say that they served as utility infielders with guns. The cost was high. More members of the unit have died over the past 14 years than all of its previous history, with repeated assaults, parachute jumps, rugged climbs, blasts from explosives, and more have all left many battered both physically and mentally. War is not a pretty thing that the United States has come to believe it to be, said Britt Slabinski, a former retired senior enlisted member of Team 6 and veteran of combat in Afghanistan and Iraq. It's emotional, one human being killing another human being for extended periods of time. It's going to bring out the worst in you. It's also going to bring out the best in you. Team 6 and its Army counterpart Delta Force have delivered intrepid performances that have drawn the nation's two most recent presidents to deploy them to expanding lists of far-off trouble spots. They include Syria and Iraq, now under threat from the Islamic State, and Afghanistan, Somalia, and Yemen, who are mired in continuing chaos. Like the CIA's campaign of drone strikes, special operations missions offer policymakers an alternative to costly wars of occupation. But the bulwark of secrecy around Team 6 makes it impossible to fully assess its record and the consequences of its actions, including civilian casualties or the deep resentment inside the countries where its members operate. The missions have become embedded in American combat with little public discussion or debate. Former Senator Bob Kerrey, a Nebraska Democrat and member of the SEALs during the Vietnam War, would caution Team 6 and other special operations forces that had been overused, saying, "They've become sort of a 1-800 number anytime somebody wants something done." However, relying on them so much, he added, is inevitable whenever American leaders are faced with one of those situations, where the choice you have is between a horrible choice and a bad choice. One of those cases where you have no option. While declining to comment specifically on SEAL Team 6, the United States Special Operations Command said that since the horrific attacks of September 11, 2001, its forces have been involved in tens of thousands of missions and operations in multiple geographic theaters and consistently uphold the highest standards required of the U.S. Armed Forces. The command said that its operators are trained to operate in complex and fast-moving environments, and it trusts them to conduct themselves appropriately. Adding, quote, all allegations of misconduct are taken seriously. Substantiated findings are dealt with by military or law enforcement authorities, end quote. The unit's advocates express no doubts about the value of such invisible warriors. One retired admiral and former Supreme Allied Commander of NATO would go on to say, if you want these forces to do things that occasionally bend the rules of international law, you certainly don't want that out in public. He also added, Team 6 should continue to operate in the shadows. However, others warn of the seduction of an endless campaign of secret missions far from public view. William C. Banks, an expert on national security law at Syracuse University, would go to say, if you're unacknowledged on the battlefield, you're not accountable. What do you think about the operations of SEAL Team 6? Let me know all about it in the comments below, and be sure you're subscribed so I can bring you more videos like this in the future. See you next time.